I'm still here and kicking. So yeah, everybody good out there? We got anybody yet? No. I'm still here, still kicking. I'll keep up with you though. But I'm going to be delayed about an hour or so. Period. There is nothing I can do about it. I'm just texting this lady that I was going to get a free, like, this big mattress frame, steel frame from. So yeah, no, I'm still kicking, everybody. Still here. Still around. Still alive. Still doing the same things that I always do, which is just living this human life, trying to make it a good experience. There's Marfield Lime. Man, I haven't caught up with you in a while. How you been, man? Yeah, it's great. Great to hear from you. Yep. Now I've just been, I've been busy. I've been doing stuff. Time just flies. I mean, time absolutely flies past when you're busy. It's like one day just folds up and rolls right into the next one, and it's just on this cycle. So I got this thing because of my shoulder, my right shoulder. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're out of that halfway house, man. I didn't mind it being in the halfway house, because the one that I was in Manchester, New Hampshire, was pretty sweet. It really was. It was nice. But they like kicked me out because I wasn't going to be releasing to that district, and the director told me I can't find a reason to keep you here. I've got other people that need these beds and blah blah blah. So they sent me back. They didn't send me back to prison, but they sent me back to jail, back to the Stratford County Jail in Dover, New Hampshire. So I spent the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was, of my sentence in the Stratford County Jail. Then I got out of there at they had two release times. One was 5:30 in the morning, and one was at 9. One going downtown by bus or whatever was at 9. And I told them, man, I got to leave at 5:30. I was trying to get out of there. And, thankfully, Jane was able to arrange an Uber type Lyft. It wasn't called Uber, it was somebody else, some woman. Nice older woman. And I just, she came. She was a few minutes late, but she got there. And they tried to get me to come back in the jail. Hey, there he is. Joey Freaks. Show the love, man. Show the love. Show the love. I mean, we got to try to get along. We got to try to navigate the course of this human experience, right? This human journey, this human life. We've got to try to navigate it intelligently and with enough of a reasonably purposeful intent to make our lives mean something, to make them count for something. I mean, but in my view, as long as we're just outside the cage, then we're serving a very important purpose. We're serving the cause of liberty. We're serving the cause of humanity in that way, I think. Just avoiding the cage. Not letting ourselves get put in those positions. But yeah, I heard about, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with the names. Is it Jason or, it isn't Jason, it'll come to me in a second. But yeah, I heard on Chad's channel about, is it Williams? Going back in, guy that had a pretty good following on YouTube and had some things going for himself. Jay, I'm sorry, thank you, Jay. I don't know him. I never met him. I saw his program a few times. He was sitting in a truck. I think it was at a construction site. He was just sitting in the driver's seat and he was just talking about, things, just the things that we talk about. What it's like to be out of the cage, what it's like to be in the cage, what it's like to fight to stay out of the cage or to get out of the cage. There's, I think this way too. Yeah, see, these guys, look, man, the federal system especially is just, and a lot of these states, they're just a little bit too tight with this probation or supervised release or conditions of release. I mean, for me, that kind of thing caused pressure because it's like, okay, I've got this sword dangling over the back of my neck and my head. I have to keep my head down because they're pressing it down. And they've got a sword ready to come down on the back of my neck. I mean, that's what it feels like sometimes is, but then I think, well, I'm not doing anything that, the 3 knots, right? Don't. Not sure his charges, but I hope he's, yeah. I don't know what his charges are. It seemed like, just from what I could see, that it might be something, I say something serious. I mean, the feds would consider it to be something serious, like felon in possession of a firearm. That could be up to a life sentence. It could carry a life sentence under Title 18, United States Code Section 924E1. You can get, it's 15 years minimum mandatory, and it goes up to life. And, the courts, it doesn't say up to life in the statute. It says not less than 15 years, without parole, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't ever give a maximum. So the courts have all interpreted that to mean that it just keeps going all the way up to life. And there's guys that I've known that had life sentences. Many dudes I knew at Leavenworth and Atlanta and Terre Haute that had life sentences for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And, nobody knows the exact circumstances. I saw Jay's interview on a video from the jailhouse wherever he is. Forgot the county, the jail that he's in. I saw that video of where he is, and him, talking to the interviewer, a guy he knows and I guess lived with and even celled with in the system he was in. So it seems like it could be some kind of a fairly serious deal rather than just a technical violation. It seems like it could be a new charge violation, which is, that's a horse of a different color, right? You get a new charge. That other stuff, the other conditions, those, they'll try to press you. They'll try to do what they can to make you be compliant with all that stuff. Because in their world, all of those things, all of those factors make it more likely that you're going to succeed. But you've got the old school PO who believes in one thing, well, three things really. Trail them, or tail them, nail them, and jail them. That was the old moniker that they used not that long ago. And a lot of them still believe that. It's not like they have training courses to get it out of their head. Yeah, the problem with the firearm charge is that if the feds want to, they can pick that up. They can put a detainer on that. And I mean, that's what they did with me down in Florida back in early 1989. They put a detainer on me. They were about to release me from the jail on my own recognizance. I went in front of the judge on the little smaller charges that the state had, and they were going to release me on my own recognizance. They put me in a holding cell and everything. The problem was I had just gotten off the Con Air flight, right? The federal flight. I'd just been brought there and dropped off by the U.S. Marshals. And it just so happened that, their process down there at that time was, as soon as you're booked, you go in front of a judge. And so they thought that I was being booked on the original charges that I was brought in under prior to this false extradition that happened, where they took me up to Indiana and then brought me back down. So they were ready to release me. And the only thing was that I had these brown khakis, these federal khakis on. So the guy comes and he unlocks my door and he says, "Hey, you're going up front." And then he stopped and he said, "Why are you still dressed like this?" And I said, "What do you mean, like what?" He said, "Well, with these khakis on, these federal khakis." I said, "Well, I'm just going to get a change of clothes when my people get here," and so forth and so on. I tried to bullshit him. So he closed the door and locked it. He said, "Hold up a minute." And he went over to the desk, and there was a big heavy-duty desk sergeant over there, and he said, "Hey, Power's over here in the holding cell. He's going to release on OR, but he's still got these federal khakis on. Do you know why?" And that dude had these papers in his hand, and I remember him huffing and puffing. "What? He's not going anywhere. No, call it. Lock that door. Don't let him out. Go anywhere." So yeah, I was like, okay. It was a bit of a downer, but there's I think Jay will be all right. They're just, they're going to process him according to whatever their rules and whatever their general mindset, I guess, in that courthouse. And again, hopefully it doesn't get picked up by the feds. Yeah, Marsfield, what I want to do is I want to do a series of just stories, just like 8-minute, 10-minute at the most, just stories. And just tell these stories, right? Just because I realized the other day, same thing you just told me. I said, man, I got a lot of stories. I got a lot of stories from all that time and all that experience and all that I've seen and done. I've got a lot of stories. So I might as well just tell these stories in, you know, consumable pieces. 8 minutes, 7, 8 minutes. I guess that's about the average length of attention span these days. Not bad. 5, 6, 7 minutes, tell a good story. I think that's what I'm going to start doing here pretty soon. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories. But, you know, I look back and I say to myself, what does all this mean? Why did I go through all that? Why did I experience all of that if I'm only going to just, you know, exist and fall into line and just, you know, try to forget about it or whatever. You can't forget about that stuff. It's impossible. You can't put that behind you. Nobody will even let you put it behind you in the first place. So once you're a convicted felon, or once you've done the amount of time I've done, or really, I say anyone who's done any amount of time is always going to be affected from that experience in some way throughout the rest of their lives. Even if they just get booked for like a DUI or some traffic violation and immediately released, they're still going to have an effect on that person because of the loss of their individual capacity, the loss of their physical freedom being taken away from them and being put in handcuffs and being put in the back of a police car and being driven to the jail where the doors close down around you and you've got a gaggle of officers or deputies that take you into this booking area and you end up in a holding cell. And yeah, that experience right there, the holding cell experience, I think that's what does it, because there you don't really have all that much to do except to be miserable about where you're at and think about what's just happened and where you're at, right? So, but, you know, even people that have had second chances, sometimes they need third chances. Sometimes they need fourth chances. You know, in my book, if a person doesn't intentionally commit some serious violent act against another human being, if you just got in an altercation, you just shoved somebody, or it was a little bit of a fist fight or something like that, I don't think you should be going to prison or into a cage behind that. I mean, you know, our system's based on punishment, right? Retribution. We're going to get even with you. We're going to teach you a lesson. We're going to sanction you. We're going to show you why you can't do this behavior. But most people just don't understand that. We're not that kind of animal. We're human beings. We need some kind of rationale. So what I say is, okay, let's try to educate people. Let's try to show people what behavior is acceptable and how they themselves can demonstrate that behavior. In other words, you know, the 3 don'ts, right? We touched on it a little bit ago. But, you know, don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. Don't hurt anybody. And don't deal drugs. If you don't do any of those 3 things, you're most likely not going to end up back in a cage. But that's not always true, because they've got a lot of little laws and a lot of little things. People can easily end up in a cage, more easily now than ever before. There's Dom. What's up, Dom? Thumbs up, brother. Thumbs up, Dom. Almost broke my phone again. Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty easy for people to end up in a cage. The cage will change their perspective forever. And like I say, it's just that feeling of contempt or helplessness or ineffectiveness or impotence, if you will, just not being able to experience your own freedom. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. It's just some little thing that happens. It's just an incident, right? And they won't hesitate to put those cuffs on. It's their job. Their job is to cuff up people and take them to jail, put them in the cage. I used to call them fun busters one time. Oh my! I'm a teenager. I'm about 14 years old, and this girl, this heavyset girl, and her skinny husband named Bruce were renting this place, this apartment, and so I went over there, and we were partying and stuff back then. This is in the 70s, late 70s. Most of you guys probably weren't even alive, but yeah, we did party back then. And so we're partying and stuff, and I got a bag of weed, and we're partying, and I've got the weed sitting up on the windowsill. And this other girl comes over from the neighborhood, and I know her. She's a little bit older than me, but she sits on my lap, and we start making out, man. And I had just rolled up a doobie, and we had back then you had record players, so you're playing your albums, Aerosmith, Kansas, Leonard Skinner, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, all that, right? Journey. So I noticed just a movement out of the corner of my eye, and I look right here out this window, and here's a state trooper looking in, right? And he's looking right at the bag of weed, and then he's looking at me, and he's looking at the bag of weed. He's like, "Open this door right now." So, yeah, I ended up getting hauled away. I was just a juvenile. But it changes your life. I didn't get charged with anything, but it does change your life, just those kind of interactions. I started calling them fun busters because it looked to me like they were just trying to step on our fun. But, I came to realize later on, I came to see after a long back and forth relationship with law enforcement, I came to see that, number one, many of those folks are worse off than the average so-called felon or convicted felon. Many of them are way worse off than and feel that they're completely insulated and above the law in that way. And morally, they're really kind of off track, many of them. Now, I've met some really straight up law enforcement officers that were decent human beings. They were fair, they were honest, but I think that's the exception now rather than the rule. I keep seeing all these videos where these police officers and sheriff's deputies and troopers are doing this whack shit. I mean, they must be terrified. They must be telling them straight up horror stories in the training sessions, because they must be telling them, look, you shoot to kill first. Don't even take a chance. You see anything, any non-compliant, shoot them in the face. That's what they must be telling them. Or, yeah, I agree. I mean, Emilio's guy. But they're doing some whack shit, man. They just shot that girl at the store, I forgot, Walmart or whatever. She's in the parking lot. She's in her car. They come to her and they tell her to get out. And, she rolls down the window a little bit and she says, "What's up? Why?" And they tell her, "Well, these people think you stole something. Get out of your car." "Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you, man." And she doesn't get out of the car. One of the cops goes in front of the car and puts his hand on the hood, and he's got his gun pointed right toward her face. He's got his gun pointed right toward her face through the windshield. And so when she goes to pull off, she goes to pull to the side to get away from these guys or whatever. Dude just shoots her. Boom. There you go. Shots fired. Shots fired. She tried to run me over. Come on, man. If you're going to stand in front of the car, she didn't try to run him over. She just tried to move her car. And he shot her dead in the face. And I'm like, wow, this is, this ain't good. Yeah, Dom. Yeah, all this was going on for eons, for decades. All this shit was going on. But you didn't have the body cameras. You didn't have the video. You didn't have the doorbell videos and buildings with all the surveillance. Now they're getting caught. You didn't have the iPhones or Androids. Now it's on video. Now you can see it. But this shit was happening. Man, I'm telling you. Back when I'm in my teens, we went to an Aerosmith concert. We're leaving. We're coming. We go to this place where we parked the car in this big parking garage, but it's closed. We didn't know it was going to close, of course. We thought we could beat the bell on that one, but we didn't. So it's closed. So now we've got to walk or hitchhike all the way home. It's about 25 miles. So, yeah, I'm walking down the sidewalk and there's this guy, this homeless guy. He's got dirty hands. He's got some drink in a bag or whatever. And he's up in this little place by the building and by the doors where there's a little recess, and the cops pull up just ahead of me. They pull over, and 2 cars, and they jump out, and they just grab this dude right away, and just started thrashing him. I saw the same thing at the at the airport in Jacksonville, Florida. I saw the same thing numerous times back in the old days at Leavenworth and at the USPs. They would definitely give you an elevator ride. They would definitely walk you down the stairs, as they called it. Of course, you'd be handcuffed behind your back and shackled. Your feet would be shackled, and they'd be dragging you face first down those stairs. But yeah, it's this kind of thing has been going on forever. It's been going on since the beginning of humankind. It's not something that's new. If you give people that don't have good personal integrity this authority to carry a gun and a badge and to kill people, or to lie on them, to get them in a cage, that's what they're going to do. And then the real thing is that when they get caught, now more than ever, they are being brought up to task, because there's been so much public outrage and such a change in perception about the police. They are being dragged up by their collars a little bit, but there's still a real reluctance on behalf of judges, prosecutors, lawyers, and everyone in that courtroom circle to give them, to let them go, to let them do their dirty, dastardly bullshit and just give them a pass, or worse yet, to give them a promotion, to kick them upstairs. So there's Richard. How you doing, Richard? Nice to see you guys. Nice to hear from you. Yeah. So I'm not against law enforcement. I just think law enforcement needs better training in personal growth and development. If you don't have certain characteristics about yourself, if you don't have a certain integrity as a human being, yeah, you're going to do the same thing the so-called criminals are doing. You're no different. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to lie, cheat, swindle, connive, steal, kill, whatever, right? So I think they just need to get a good training program into place. I've got the training program, if they want to use it. It's called the manual program. That's the one I use every day. That's what keeps me on track, is the manual program. Just taking this little bit of information into my mind, into my deep mind, every day. Just 5-6 minutes, just infusing it, so that over time adds up, right? It's every day. Over time, it has a cumulative effect. And, it's changed the way that I think. It's changed the way that I feel. It's changed the way, ultimately, that I behave or act. So it's, a lot of times I just say to myself, we're all human beings. I don't think I know that no one is worth any less or any more than any other human being. We're all the same inherently at the core, because we're all here on this planet. We all have a right to be here, right? So no matter what your race or sex or religion or outlook or social status or socioeconomic status, whatever, you're no better, you're no worse than anyone else on this planet. So stop judging. Stop judging. And I notice, there's a lot of enclaves of wealthy people around here. So I've noticed in interacting with some of them on a limited basis that they have a really myopic view of others, because they really don't get out much. They only operate within certain circles, and they don't have that experience. They don't have that wisdom that comes, like Yimio saying, with age and experience. You get wisdom, and that's what, look, all the great bodhisattvas, all the great holy men of old, from A to Z, any religion, every religion, they all agreed, get wisdom. Above all else. That's what's going to make you rich. That's what's going to enrich your life. See, we're not talking about external appendages like possessions. We're talking about internal life, thoughts, feelings, behaviors that come up from the inside out, and how we can position ourselves in this physical environment to really be able to navigate. Now, we might not have the best ship, we might not have the best crew, we might not be in the best place. We might be on some Sargasso Sea, or it might be Straits of Gibraltar or somewhere else. And it might be, way up in the Amazon, nasty and gnarly, but we should have the skills to navigate ourselves, our own ships. We should have the skills to navigate through this human life and to get something out of it, to get some wisdom. To get some wisdom. To me, that's what it's all about. Get wisdom. Get wisdom. And what is wisdom? To me, wisdom is both the so-called book learning or intellectual knowledge of a thing, and then it's also practical experience. It's also the hands-on approach where you actually go and do that. And in that way, you combine the two, and that learning process gives you a superior understanding. So if we apply that wherever, relationships, right? Words that are spoken, little tempers flying off, right? Is that really anything? Is it? I mean, you collect yourself, you get a hold of yourself, you do a little bit of a self-analysis, you apologize if you hurt somebody's feelings, and you purpose in your own heart and mind to be a little more circumspect the next time, to take that other person's thoughts and feelings into consideration. I'm just saying, integrity applies everywhere in life, and it makes life better for humans. Integrity, which is basically just the practical application of wisdom, makes life better for human beings. There's no question about it. None. Zero. So that's what and trust me, look, I don't need to tell you, I don't need to tell anybody, because we're all the same. I'm not no perfect human being. I'm not, really, honestly, I don't think I'll ever be a perfect human being. I don't even know what one is. But there's a certain idealistic goal to keep reaching for. And that's what sets the benchmarks. That's what sets the standards of what we should be doing, feeling, and thinking. So, those are all behaviors. Our emotions are behaviors. Our thoughts are behaviors. And ultimately, there's something in us that has the ability to control that, to not control in the sense of, forcefulness, but control in the sense of making rational choices. We're free to pursue rational choices. We're free to make, in other words, we come to a fork in the road. This one's going down this way, and you see that it's pretty ugly down there, pretty gnarly, pretty messy, or could be. And then this one's kind of the straight and narrow, so to speak. It's not boring just because it's straight and narrow. Straight and narrow just means that it's clear, that it's that this is probably the better path to go. And you just make a decision in that instant. No, I'm not doing that, I'm going this way. I'm doing this instead. It's really pretty simple. Choices. No, I'm not going to do that right now. And you might have to, do that 100 times in a row. You might have to make the same choice, right? Because of temptations, or because of your own body maybe rebelling against those choices. So, but if you keep making the right choice and don't give in to that wrong choice, then you're going to come out ahead. It's just self-discipline. That's all it is. Just self-discipline. And, people need motivation. People need some hope. People need to be able to get themselves together in a way where they can feel good about themselves and their lives instead of feeling shitty and miserable all the time. Yeah. No truer words ever said. You have to be willing to learn. But that's the catch-22, right? Is, okay, the way I look at it is, the people who are unwilling to engage in personal growth and development, and we know what that is, we know how it works well enough now to readily engage it as a accepted public and private program or policy. We know what it is. But the reason that people will not engage is because they don't have the capacity to engage. In other words, their minds are held in this prison of sorts. They're encapsulated with this very, very thick wall of probably some kind of, symbolic concrete and stone. It's thicker in others than others, right? But you have to be able to make that breakthrough. You have to be able to have at least this little bit of this modicum of hope that there's something on the other side of that. If you start to think, hey, maybe I am being confined. Maybe there is, a prison of sorts that encapsulates my mind. And maybe there is some kind of freedom, some kind of light, some kind of new understanding or new knowledge that's going to enrich my life and help make sense of this whole thing. And so, you have to take these little tools that you have, this little chisel and maybe a little hammer, and you have to start digging. You have to start putting some work in. And it's all symbolic, right? But the work is your meditation. The work, trust me, the meditation is the one thing, whether you call it pure prayer, horizon, meditation, progressive relaxation, silence. This is the one technique that has been known throughout human history to work. And it does work. It will work. It will allow you to eventually make those breakthroughs or breakaways or breakouts that you need to make in order to get this bigger picture, this new experience of the bigger world. And it's all within you. It's all within your own heart and mind, each individual. So I do feel sorry for people who don't have the capacity to engage in personal growth and development, because I would really, really like to see more people engage in that. But, it makes more sense that, learning. Learning is growing. Learning is living. I agree. If you stop learning, you stop growing. If you stop growing, what's that? You're going the other way now. You're going backwards. So we can't put the emphasis on this physical world, really. We can put a secondary emphasis if we want, but our primary emphasis should be on our own selves. It should be on our own hearts and minds. We should be putting the primary importance on personal enrichment, personal growth, personal development, learning new things about ourselves. And then, once we come to see these things and accept these things and know these things, then it starts to make a big difference in the world around us. Because now you're not judging by material goods or money or fame or fortune or social status or looks or talents or that kind of thing. Now you're judging just on an even keel, on a basic platform that says, hey, I'm no better, no worse than any other human being on this planet. And I'll stand on that firmly till the end of my time, because I know that that's the ultimate truth. Well, the ultimate truth is this, and I heard it in a movie. The only thing that's really true is that it's all true. Yeah, the silencing the mind, silencing the fabrication of thought, the generation of thought, is not an easy task. I suggest that people start out with 3 breaths, just 3. But get yourself a little schedule. Do 3 breaths a day. Just sit quietly somewhere, keep your back straight, and just breathe 3 times. Just breathe 3 times and try to just Try to just relax as much as you can. And then just increase it a little bit here and there. Each week, increase a couple more. Increase the time a little bit by increasing, the amount of breaths. And pretty soon, just little by little by little, we got to gradually ease into it. If you try to sit down for half an hour and you've never meditated, believe me, you're going to have a very bad experience. Yeah, and most people, like my friend here, they do report that their thoughts just start racing. They can't control them. But you can control 3 breaths. And once you get used to that, then you go to 5 maybe, or maybe it's just 4. But if you stay on a progressive track, you're gonna get there. And I don't use that many breaths. I'll do it throughout the day. Like one of my favorite exercises is if I'm in the car and I'm just sitting somewhere, I'll grab the wheel, I'll go in through my nose, right? I just let my belly out, but I'll bend backwards. And then I'll come forward and I'll exhale through my mouth and I'll tighten my abdomen and I'll squeeze like a crunch all the way down and just blow all that air out through my mouth. So yeah, you can use this technique. I'm telling you, there's a lot of merit to learning breath control because you can energize yourself. You can de-energize yourself if you're having trouble sleeping. If you want to break some kind of a bad habit, there's breath control techniques that will super empower you to be able to do that. Trust me. And if you just want to feel good, there's some real good techniques for just basically getting yourself high with the breath itself. But I really appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back again soon. I'm back on track now with the programming, and I'll be back very soon. But for now, I'm going to have to sign off and get busy with this other stuff I've got going on. So I appreciate you guys. Namaste. It's not a religious saying. I'm just saying, hey, I recognize the great goodness, the potential that's in each of you. And I do. I recognize that great potential in each one of you. So hang with me. We'll hang together. We'll do this if you want. And I'll be back next week. So I'll let you know when and where. And in the meantime, I'm Jack Powers. Yeah, of course I am. Of course I'm Jack Powers. Who else would I be? See you guys later.